And the biggest decoy of all is political parties. And these decoys that we use, abortion and gay marriage and this and that, are great at marketing and branding the political parties. The thing to think about political parties is they're no different than, for example, the Yankees and the Republicans. As my grandmother's big fans of the Yankees and Republicans has been for many, many years. The Yankees of the 1920s, when Babe Ruth was playing, is not the same team. It's the same name. The Republicans of the 1920s or even the 1980s are not the same. But my grandmother still thinks they're the same. It's remarkable how powerful this is at distracting people. President Washington fought against political parties. He abhorred them the second he left office. The Federalist and the Democratic Republican parties formed almost immediately. Adams and Jefferson. Adams believed in strong government, and Jefferson, until he became president, in less government. But the good thing back then about parties is, back then they made sense because they represented the most important differences between people, meaningful differences. Ultimately, parties over time degrade into meaning nothing. They become marketing machines. They're great decoys so that the key issues people are not focusing on. Political parties form when something important, in reaction, abuse or something important has to be brought up that changes the path of the society. The key is we need to avoid that. We don't want another party to form. So the key is to really understand that the party is really there to try to get votes. It's a machine to get votes and distract people from the agenda. And we really need to use it as such. So again, the reason why we have decoys is so that we can avoid people addressing the issues that we want to address. And so what are some of those issues? Economic policy, energy policy, educational policy, international relations, trade policy, future vision of the country, the U.S. competitiveness. So our strategy in dealing with political parties is we want to create the illusion of democracy. And the way we do that is we fund both sides. So regardless of who wins, our person is in power. And occasionally we switch our primary support when one party needs to fallow for a while. And occasionally we need to make a major switch. So, for example, when we need to make a major strategy switch, we often will sabotage one party and ensure that the other party gets elected. So the question is, how does the president get elected? The US population doesn't elect the president. We do. And I think we all know that. So how do we do that? Let's review how we do that. First is we determine what our objectives are. Trade policy, inflating the currency, and so on. So we set our decoys to get people distracted in one direction. Now it turns out in this last election, we really didn't need a decoy. It was pretty obvious that the meltdown was the issue. Then we assess the strength of each party and candidate. What does the public want? Who are they? Are they inclined to switch parties? It's great. Parties are great because they always switch, and then we always know where to go. The candidate, do we need somebody who's soothing to the world? Do we want to irritate the Europeans? Do we want somebody who is a strong thinker, or do we want somebody who works very closely with us? We want to make sure that this person is smart and confident, but just a little bit naive. They have to believe the agenda. We want to make sure that they not only understand our agenda, but really truly believe it. So we just simply pick the ones that do. Sometimes we need to run two strong candidates. If it's not quite clear who's going to win, we run two candidates. Sometimes one runs strong candidate and one lame candidate. And in some cases, we'll use our back channels to convince the one lame candidate to pick a vice president who is going to make him lose the election. That's been used several times. It's very effective. And then we use our friend the media to create the echo chamber. This candidate is the shoe-in. We all love him or her again and again and again. Pretty soon it's a foregone conclusion that everybody wants this person. Another thing we use occasionally is the third party tactics, where if we want one party to get elected but it's too close, we'll convince a third party candidate to run. And the last time that was done with any great degree of effectiveness was during Teddy Roosevelt's run when he created the Bull Moose Party. Through back channels, they convinced Teddy, even Teddy Roosevelt, a clever guy, didn't see this. They convinced Teddy Roosevelt to run against Taft, both Republicans, so the Democrats could win. Woodrow Wilson came in and was able to establish the Federal Reserve. Finally, the central bank, after over 100 years, was finally put into the country.